Hi. Haven't seen a video from me in a while, but I am here with Hazel Booth, who is a life coach and a life story coach, which is just the greatest combination. And she and I met, randomly, I think through another client introduced us. And as soon as she said this bit, she has an own your story service. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, well, we need to talk about pages, because about pages are the hardest to write. They are the hardest. So you can find her on Instagram at Wise and Worthy Life Coaching. It's all one word, Wise and Worthy Life Coaching. And if you're a service-based solopreneur, a coach, she can totally help you own the pieces of your story so you can connect more deeply with your clients, all that good stuff. And I love what you said, because we had a little pre-video chat about authenticity and transparency and relatability. So I want to talk about why those are so important. But the first question I had that I wanted to talk about is, why are about pages so damn hard, and why are they so important? Like, you can't not have one. So what do you think? Do you want to start with why it's hard, or why it's like really critical to not screw up?
Well, I think that they're critical because this is like often your first connection with your client. The world is a busy place, especially on the internet, and you have to differentiate yourself if you want to attract your clients. And authenticity is really the way you attract your clients, and your about page is the venue. A lot of people look at their about page and they think, oh, what am I going to tell them? It's like going to a job interview and they say, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Right? Which story?
The worst question in the world. What
version of yourself do you show to people? Because I don't know about you, but I am a multifaceted person, which means, I'm into a lot of weird stuff. Which one? Do I talk about any of them?
Yeah, I mean, pretty soon you've told them where you were born and where you went to school and how many kids you had and how many times you've been married and divorced and what your favorite food is. And none of those things are necessarily what they need to know. So this is kind of where your market research comes in, where you know what your client is looking for, and you've already done some assessment. And there's like it's an inventory. It's almost an awesomeness inventory where you're going to figure out what those juicy bits about yourself are and how they can help your client. And that's really, you're writing your about page about you. It's really not about you. It's really about your client and what pieces you bring to enhance the results for your client.
That's the bridge that I think so many people miss, because I've seen about pages go wildly into one extreme or the other, where it's like, it's all about the entrepreneur. Like, here's my greatest hits list. Here's what makes me me. Please peer deeply into my soul. And it's so navel gazing that it's a little bit off-putting. Then on the other end, which is what we copywriters are trained to do, it's so much about the clients that it just reads like another sales page. And that's one of the questions I get when I'm teaching writing your own pages. It's like, gosh, this about page sounds an awful lot like the sales page. I'm like, well, you're right. And it actually caused me to reconsider how I write the about page. I'm slowly bringing it a little bit more towards center of those two extremes. So I'm wondering, for your clients, where do you fall on that crazy range of, navel gazing on one hand, or so focused on the client you mention yourself in 3 sentences?
Yeah, well, I think you really do have to do, even in your about page, you're speaking in a very conversational way. You're using a lot of you and your, and this is all about, it's not about I did this and I did this, unless it's like, my skill in this area will help you in this area. And so it really is a matter of, again, pointing the camera towards how I'm going to help you. And I have seen, looking at some people's websites, where even their about page reads the same structure, format, call to action at the end. It really does look very much, it's like, I can't tell a difference between this and your other pages. They all kind of ring the same. And so there really is a place to stand out and be very connecting with your client on a, like, this, I need to work with this person.
So Okay, so that's where the magic happens. And it's also, for me, the hardest part to explain. What is the magic? What is the alchemical structure of creating that reaction of I need to work with this person? For me, it's like I need to be this person's friend right now. Like we need to be BFFs. How do I make this happen? And that leads into actually working together. So, how do you do it? How do you make the magic?
Well, for me, I feel like definitely story plays a big piece. And when someone reads a piece and it resonates with you, it's like this person, maybe you find them funny in some way, or maybe you're just like, wow, that is so cool. But on some level, it's like this person gets me. We have some things in common. And I think that connection often too, it's like when you're thinking about how someone's like, I want to work with this person, sometimes it is even illustrated through the success stories that you're also being able to pull together. And I think a lot of times, we discount pieces and go, well, that's not very professional. I'm not going to mention that. But some of the most engaging stories or about pages really do pull in maybe some off the wall kind of, funny things you might not have guessed about me. And I think when you can bring in that personal quality, I think that really does engage. The authenticity is a really important piece because, again, you're trying to differentiate. And if people are looking for a copywriter such as yourself, they're wanting to know that this person gets me, but they're also kind of wanting to have a connection style wise, a connection with experience, just things that sometimes I like to use the illustration of I think they call it the cutting room floor in the film industry. And so they might spend thousands of dollars with like top actors, expensive actors. And if it doesn't like quite fit, they cut that piece out and they leave it on the cutting room floor. And I think a lot of us go through our lives and we've experienced things that maybe have, that's not maybe not a story I want to share, or I'm kind of embarrassed about that, or this maybe brings me a little bit of uncertainty and how are people going to respond to that? And so I think that there's a lot of pieces that we leave out of our story that might, especially in coaching, might be the very thing that qualifies us through what I like to call empowered empathy. Because it's like, ooh, people understand. You've been where I am. I'm not like some second class lower citizen, not in your league. I'm like, wow, you had this experience and you have this success. I want that. And I think for coaches, that's really important.
I love that phrase, empowered empathy. And I feel like I'm, telling tales out of school, but it is one of the worst things you can say to a copywriter is, okay, let me tell you the story, but we can't use it. Because I know as soon as I hear that, it's going to be the best story. It's going to be exactly what their clients need to hear. And they have a lot of fear and shame around it that is preventing them from showing up authentically in the way that they need to. It's always the story that needs to be told. And half the time I've got to just work around it and it hurts. It hurts.
Well, and I think sometimes, this part about owning your story, sometimes, as coaches, we really are better coaches when we are also being coached. And I think sometimes there are these pieces that before we can put them in our story, we might need a little coaching around them
I love
really
that.
own them.
Yes, that makes so much sense. Because I am just a copywriter. I am not any kind of coach. I just specialize in copywriting for coaches. But having the ability to actually coach someone through those mindset blocks that can keep them from their best copy, that is a powerful combo.
I think that there's really something there because, I was listening to David Nagel this last week and he was in a workshop called what he called the elite entrepreneurial mind. And one of the things he said that really hit me hard is like, he's talking about our core wounds as young people. You know how we all come in with this authenticity that is unique to us. And we're all here at this space in time in history for a purpose to serve the world, to heal the world, to bring our gifts to the world. But it starts so young. We get kind of shut down. No, don't do that. No, you can't feel that. No, don't think that. No, I guess, you know, he goes, what was stolen from us was our authenticity. And so I really feel like that regaining that authenticity is really important as entrepreneurs, especially as coaches, to begin to really share who we are. And I think that, you know, an about page can be a great place to kind of do that awesomeness inventory and go, I'm really good at what I do. And these pieces that I bring in, and it isn't limited to just your about page, because I think when you get this confidence, of course, your whole energy changes and uplifts. But as you're working with your clients, then you're not hiding behind something. You're being, you know, creating that rapport. And so I've got this concept in my head that relatability, which I think is super key, that relatability is at the intersection of authenticity and transparency. And it's that prime real estate. So if authenticity is how you show up and transparency is how much you share, that means that you are totally there in that connection with your client, not being up here, you know, just really being relatable. And that resonates really strongly, I think.
So a lot of the resistance I hear about the relatability piece is, oh, but I have to be professional. And that's the excuse for trying to sort of set themselves up as, I know what I'm doing. I've never made a mistake in my life.
That's not relatable.
No, it's not. And so I have a format, a structure that I use for about pages, and it starts with kind of an empathy block of, I understand your problem, you know, here's what your problem is, here's what we're doing here. And then it goes into why I understand the problem, which is that transparency piece. And then and usually you understand the problem because you have also experienced the problem. That doesn't apply to copywriters, because we've pretty much always been good at writing. Like, that kind of goes together. But coaches are usually coaching themselves 10 years ago. So it works for them. And then the final piece is what we call the fun facts section. And it's just like this bullet point list. That is the hardest part for almost everybody, including myself. That's the part that I have rewritten 5 times more than any other part of the page.
So are you saying you give it back to the client and they say, oh, no, we can't share that?
No, actually the clients are super into the fun facts. Everybody loves the fun facts. The readers do, the clients do, their clients do. But it's the hardest one to get right, because the first version is always braggy. It's like, here are my greatest hits. I'm a best-selling author on Amazon. I have visited 51 countries and counting. The hardest thing I mean, it's like that job interview where they try to get you to reveal something that's not great about yourself and you turn it around into a strength. It's like that. And it just destroys relatability. And the hardest part is sharing things in a way that's humble and self-deprecating and relatable. So,
well, one thing that I have mentioned to clients when, you know, I've done some work for them is that I like to see, you know, if somebody has like a whole smattering of, you know, icons of places they've, you know, Forbes and, you know, all the different places that they've worked, I like to see, instead of including them on that about page, when you have your, you know, learn more here, work with me here, link to another page where someone has a contact sheet and a way to reach out to you, I like to put those over there.
yeah,
Because then they're not quite so in your face, like, oh, I thought she was genuine, but she might be genuine, but she's totally out of my league, or however we interpret it, because we have a way of dissing ourselves. And so I feel like if you can get that person to the contact sheet and then maybe down below it, list all of those things, you're not minimizing them. You're just not making them in their face front and center.
Yeah, I like it. Sometimes it's very rare where somebody is actually basing part of their decision on your qualifications. Like, it's very rare. It basically, it's happened to me one time in the past year where I had a client who was a nutritionist, and she would get referrals from doctors, and the doctors would want to see her qualifications. Her other clients did not care. Most people's clients do not care. So what we did for her is we wrote the page for her other clients, and then we had a little button, if you're a doctor looking to refer me, here's an info sheet for you. And that had her resume.
Yeah, that's a great way too. I like that. But again, I think just off of the main thoroughfare so that it's there, but it's not, front and center.
That's a really good question. What do people, so they don't care about your qualifications, and that tends to be what people want to put on their about page, is either their life story or their resume, and it's not either one of those things. What do people actually want to see on the about page? What are they looking for when they get there?
The first thing that comes to my mind is heart and soul.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I think that is really the way we connect. Everything else is a little extraneous,
Oh, so the hard part is, okay, that makes perfect sense to me. How do you tell your clients how to put heart and soul into their about pages?
For me, I'm finding that people have said, oh, you should coach people on how to do their about pages, or you should get a group together and teach them how to create their copy. And to me, it's still sort of in that, well, this is kind of just something that I do. I haven't really looked at how to coach them to do it. I think that what you were saying about the format you have, I mean, that definitely has a hook and an entry point, only you're not agitating their pain. You're like entering into a soft, safe space. And I think that safe space is really, really key when you're connecting, so definitely to be conversational, to be showing that you have empathy for where they are, to be showing that you have a powerful solution for where they are, and to be just projecting that confidence that you are in a position, you a few steps ahead of them on this path, and you are positioned to walk alongside or ahead of them and lead the way because you've done this before. So I think those are all key pieces.
I think I do love, and I do this with my sales pages too. I start with that empathy section, and a lot of copywriters will tell you to start with problems.
Fear.
Right. Not just problems, but the problem agitate technique. It's like, not only are you reminding them that they're having a hard time, you're making them feel worse about it.
You're rubbing it in.
Right. I call it
magnifying how bad it might be. Yeah.
But and it's important to acknowledge where they are, and that's where the empathy comes in. Because the way I talk about it with my students is, if you're sitting down to coffee with a friend and they come in with great energy, like, oh, it's a beautiful day, how are you doing? You're going to greet them there. But if they come in and they're like, I have had the worst day, I can't even until I've had coffee, you're going to greet them with a very different energy. Like, oh my gosh, what happened? Tell me about it. Let me get you that coffee. And that's the empathy that we need in our pages.
Yeah, because it doesn't do any good to come in all, look at me, here I am, when your client is, because that is a total mismatch, and
exactly. So that's one of the things that I also hear is, oh, I just want to be positive on this page. And I'm like, but where are your clients when they're coming to you? Because most people only actively seek out change when there is a substantial pain.
Right.
So we can't not acknowledge that. We've got to acknowledge that. We don't have to sit there.
And I think that is one of the main tenets in coaching is that you do not fall into the client's story with them. You stay up here. It's just that emotionally You're holding space for the person, but you are not like
right.
40,000 watts when they're sitting down, and can barely keep their candle lit. You kind of have to have a dial on your energy that you're able to adjust to match, but you're not going to fall into their story and both of you be wallowing and being unhappy. You're still holding that space so that you can help them move forward.
So tell me a little bit more about the owning your story part, because that is, first of all, it's key. You've got to be able to own your own authenticity and your own ability to be transparent before you enter the waters of trying to write this page. And I'm curious how you help people get to that place. Yeah, no, I think that is my question. What is the process like to actually own your story?
Well, so far I've done single sessions. I do have a course mapped out for a longer stretch. I haven't trialed that with anybody yet. But originally it's like sitting down, and it's an interview, sort of a thing like this, but it's a conversation. And I give them some pre-work to kind of like maybe trigger some ideas about stories that they might want to reconsider. And then when we meet, it's just a conversation, and I take notes and we make a recording and they can have the transcript. And some of them are just like, wow, just by talking, I was able to bring things up, asking questions that maybe pull things out that hadn't been acknowledged. Or some pieces that say, I just didn't realize how that would even fit into my marketing. I was overwhelmed. I just was feeling a little inferior, and so just part of it is it's an emotional thing, but sometimes you have to inventory, and one session may not be nearly enough, but it's a start. And then the projected program that I was looking at is more about learning to own your story. I really feel like I participated in a program with Kathy Heller called Made to Do This. And so how everyone is here to do something. And it's kind of like she's got a podcast called Quit Your Day Job. And so the idea is that we're all here for something, and it's not to be a cog in somebody else's wheel. If you're not actively moving forward with an agenda, you're a part of somebody else's agenda. And so I had this inspiration called WITS, Women Inspired to Shine. And the tagline would be, keep your wits about you. The idea that we all, some women shine really bright, and some of us kind of stay in the shadows, and maybe we don't feel as positive or as sure of ourselves. But that with this whole authenticity piece, we all need to be growing into owning what we're here for and who we're here to help. And there are so many people, one of the things Kathy said is that it's not about, I think she got this from Donald Miller, that we're all sitting around waiting for permission to show up and be ourselves. We're waiting for permission to do that big dream that we have. And he said, it's not about waiting for permission. It's about realizing that this is I can't say the word. Might have to edit this part. That this is
like, this is what you're meant to do. Like, this is sort of,
yeah, I can't say it.
Mission.
But it's like it's God-given, mandatory on you. It's your onus. You have no options. It's not like, oh, give me permission. It's like you have been directed. This is your calling in life. Step onto it. And I just feel like there is this hesitancy among us, whether it's the cattiness of other women and we feel like someone else is doing better than us, or we're comparing ourselves, or we're, so I've lost track of what I wanted to tell you.
That's okay. I wanted to ask though, so you have this conversation with your clients who are, doing the own your story piece, and how do you help them choose? Because I'm sure they present you with a few. How do you help them choose what story to tell? How to present themselves?
Okay. Well, in the sessions we've done so far, I've taken and written copy for them, and then they are doing whatever they want to do with that. And it has been more about a revelation on their part of like, oh, I didn't think about. The bigger program I have is like, let's work on these stories in one-to-one coaching every month. Let's also bring in 2 workshops a month that are about how to turn your story into something you can deliver on the page. And that would involve choosing. And then 2 workshops a month that are about presentation and how you can show up on the stage.
Ooh.
Because what I wanted to continue to say when I got lost track of there is that there is someone who's waiting to hear the inspiration and the encouragement that you have from your story. And we have a tendency to hold that close to the vest and go, yeah, I don't think any, this might turn this person off. This might not feel professional over here, and I think that just the whole corporate industry has kind of given us that impression because it is so conformity based. No. We don't want to hear your story. No. We don't care about your experience. We just need you to do this thing in this space and this time. When you're stepping into being an entrepreneur, it is so much more. It's like we need you to show up. And that is why it's so important in coaching that you can really own who you are.
I love that. And I think of all the messages that we tend to get as women, growing up, that maybe we're not worth listening to. Maybe we're not very interesting. If the adults in your life would rather be doing anything but hearing what you have to say, you get that message very strongly. And then, you grow up and you start your own business and you have to write your about page. And all of a sudden, you have to believe that you are worth listening to. And that is a big leap.
It is a big leap. And I think it shows up in a lot more areas than just your about page.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's like several years of shadow work right there.
Yes. Like I say, I think that the coaching piece that goes with it is really important to help you start, to owning those pieces. But, it is small votes of confidence in yourself that I think. And a lot of times, sometimes we look externally for those, but we can actually be doing things internally also to kind of elevate in our own mind our worthiness to serve. So
I love that. Okay, so a couple of rapid fire questions. When you are looking for a service-based entrepreneur to hire, and you look at their homepage and they haven't blown it, so you go to their about page to see more about them, what are you looking for as a consumer?
what am I looking for as a consumer?
Yeah. What would make you look at their about page and say, I want to work with that person?
I think just someone who I feel like they get me. They, just that connection of wow. And oftentimes it has to do with results, but it might be a single story of, I help this kind of people do this, this person was in this scenario and this is her outcome. And, I think those are the kind of things that make us go, I have that situation. I need that kind of help. I want to work with you. I wonder if she'd work with me. I think when you see someone and it resonates, and a lot of times it is too, when you're honest enough to be, maybe she came from this kind of a background. And it's like, well, I'm in that kind of, it has to be relatable. I don't have any specific, but I think that relatability and that where you feel like someone gets you and they're not like so far out of that they wouldn't understand.
I call them connection points, like those little points where you can find something in common. I tend to use bullet points a lot for this. If you look,
I think it's nice and scannable too.
Yeah, yes, that as well. I mean, people have a very short attention span. They don't want to read a novel. They just, make it easy for them. So yeah, that actually leads me to my second question. On your own about page, what is your favorite part?
I haven't looked at my own about page in a while. You caught me off guard there.
Sorry. Well, while you're thinking, I'll share my favorite part of my about page. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen. So I pull it up. Okay, let's see, share screen. There we go. Maybe. Okay.
You told me I didn't have to plan anything. I could have totally planned this.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying bullet points. Like these aren't technically
Oh,
bullet
yeah,
points,
yeah.
but
They
these
just
are
stand out.
4 connection points. And I actually put connection points everywhere. Like here's my empathy section. And here are more connection points. And then a little bit of my professional experience for the 2 people who care. Nobody cares. More connection points. Like this page does one thing really well, and that is
Connect.
connecting, forming those relationships.
I like the pictures of you being casual in real life. I think that's important to see that this person has a life outside of, yes, working.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That actually brings me to a wider point about not using stock photography on your website if you can help it. Like it's so much more authentic, and
Well, and I think even
working
the
better.
photo piece, a lot of us tend to be bashful about the camera. And it's like, yeah, I don't think I would look good enough. I don't think, And so I think, again, that's part of owning, you know,
Okay.
ourselves and the bodies we're in. And
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm actually very insecure in front of the camera. You probably can't tell, but there's a reason I chose to put on makeup today instead of make myself tea before our video. I'm like, oh, I've got to feel confident about how I look. My husband actually took those pictures on my website because it was during lockdown, he was my only
yeah,
photographer.
great pictures. They
But
give
my
us a great feel for you.
Thank you. But my favorite part of this about page
It's the
is
camels.
the camels. Yes. I actually need to add a picture of the camels here.
Yes, we are missing that.
Yes, they're on my Instagram. But so this, I was told by a really lovely branding expert years ago, and we were figuring out what do I put on my about page. And I'm like, I've got all of these interests, I do a ton of weird stuff. And he's like, yeah, the point is to connect, and nobody's going to be able to relate to the camel thing. So I thought it was just too weird. It's too, like, nobody's else is doing this, which is true. But the connection point is actually feeling like something you do or something you're into is too weird to share. That is actually how I relate to other people who are, my coaches are into crystals and herbalism and tarot and things that a lot of people think are weird. And I
Mhm.
love that. Bring on the weird, pile it on. I want a weird sandwich. I want, a stack of pancakes weird.
So you feel like this then gives them the permission or the sense like, wow, if Lauren can put camels on her website, I can put crystals and tarot on my website. Is that
Right?
what you're saying?
I
Yeah,
mean, compared to camels, those things are super normal.
they are. They're like mainstream compared to camels. And I mean the camel dairy. And how 45 minutes from your house? Where do you live, Lauren?
I'm in North County, San Diego, and the camel dairy is in Ramona.
No kidding.
Yeah,
I
so
would not have expected there to be camel dairy in California.
oh no, I was pretty surprised and delighted to find that myself.
Yes, I mean, I'm thinking you were on safari somewhere where you went and found camels, somewhere else. So that is amazing.
That is how I found them first. I was traveling in India in my early 20s as a very, very young person, and I had just been burned from my first job. So that story used to be on my about page more. And then it shifted because I wanted to make it a little bit more about my work with my clients, which is also a true story.
Right. Yeah. I mean, unless you can connect that, being fired from your job to your clients, then you have to find some piece in there that's relatable.
Right.
But
Oh,
it does fit very well in the fun facts section.
yeah. My about page is probably a bit heavy on the fun facts. I just had too much fun
But
writing.
you know what? How can you have too much? I mean, as long as you've covered all the bases and people are still reading, if it's engaging content, I think you're fine.
Right. And don't be a braggy asshole, because I just made this an adult video, but yeah, no, the bragginess is actually the biggest pitfall that I found. And it always comes from insecurity. Like, I don't know if I'm interested in it enough for you to read this. I'm going to brag.
Well, and I don't even know if it has to do with being interesting enough for you to read this. I think that there just really is, especially for, new entrepreneurs. I think there is an insecurity about what you have to do to get a client.
Yeah.
What do I have to know and do to make people trust me enough to give me their money? And I feel like that's a big part of it. But that insecurity is definitely on a continuum. You have the people over here who can't really show their face and, are cowering and hiding. And then you have the people over here who are like so flamboyant, but beneath it all, there's a,
Yes.
little sinkhole going on in terms of their security and their confidence.
My first incarnation of my website, I did a photo shoot and I tried to wear what I thought a copywriter for life coaches would wear. I bought a whole new wardrobe.
Oh my.
Well, like, for a few pictures, for photo shoots. So like three outfits that I thought, this looks like what I've seen life coaches wear. And it was like the torn jeans and the casual sweater that was like big and cozy. And I
Doesn't
did
look like your image I see here today.
not me at all. I am like vintage, retro. I love that aesthetic. That is what I live in. That's what I love. And that's finally what's on my website. But it's that insecurity. I was new. That was my new niche. I was just switching from software as a service to coaches. And I thought I had to change how I presented myself to attract those people.
I
And
think that is the mindset of I have to fit in instead of I want to stand out. And that's kind of where the differentiation piece, it is our nature to try to fit in.
yes. And with marketing, you think that, you have to create this perfect client trap, put the bait in there that you think the little fishies are going to be attracted to, and then that's not how it works.
No.
Very few people are saying that. But I think authenticity, transparency, that's it. That's how we get our people.
Yeah, and I think it's misleading because social media seems to be very much about a perfect image. Someone posted a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know, the person who posted it was a reshare, and it was like this mother has taken her daughter in matching swimsuits to the pool. She spreads out all the toys, puts the baby on the blanket so she can sit and play with the toys, shoot some photos, packs it all up. And the person who wrote it is like, yeah, she's probably posting, just me and my daughter a day at the pool. But there was no playing going on. There was no interacting going on. There was no splashing and having fun going on. And the poor mom at home who's trying to keep all the plates juggled is going, God, she's such a great mom and I'm such a loser. And so we have this whole concept about what's perfect. And I think it applies here when we're talking about being real with people. Again, it's like that relatability piece. Are we projecting that we've got it all together and we've never had an issue with anything in our lives, but I can coach you because I know how it's done? Or are we coaching or projecting, wow, I feel your pain. I've been there. I went through this and this and this, but I've learned from that. And I'm here to lead you along this stretch of your journey. And I think that we can definitely give that to our clients. And that's what they're going to respond to.
Do you know what you just did there? Okay, I want everybody who's watching this to just like do a little rewind to what you just said, because you actually outlined a perfect structure to an about page.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that is a beautiful, beautiful note to end on. Do you have any last words of wisdom for this very difficult page?
No, just be real. Reach out and get some encouragement from people who are able to see from a perspective that maybe you're unable to see. And give it your heart and soul, because that's what people are looking for.
Oh, I love that. That's way better than mine. Mine is just, be fearless, put it all out there. You'll be fine. But that's a tough sell. Most people don't believe me when I say that. Thank Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Hazel.
having me. It was really
Great.
fun and a privilege.
All right. Remind everybody where they can find you, your Instagram handle.
My Instagram handle is Wise and Worthy Life Coaching. And I'd love to just see you in my chat or get a message from you, and maybe we can do some work together.
Yeah, follow her on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at Truer Words by Lauren. And yeah, I'm mostly posting pictures of my cats and chickens because that is the authentic me. Sometimes they have wise words to say about copy. All right. Thank you. And I will catch you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.